Let's chat about pre-filling and how you can utilize this feature to create more personal and engaging forms. Sometimes we are already aware of the submitter's responses before they arrive on the online form. We have the ability to pre-populate these answers before their arrival, or pre-fill them. You may want to save your submitter's time when they're working through a multiple form flow. You would capture their responses to the first form and pre-fill them into the second. Or perhaps you already have the personal details of your submitter kept within your customer relationship management tool. You could pre-fill your form with the details from your CRM, providing a more personalized experience to your users when they arrive on the form. So how can we pre-fill an answer to a question? Pre-filling form answers with Paperform is extremely easy, and most questions, excluding the appointment field, allow pre-filling by using a unique key. This key represents the specific question, and we refer to it as a pre-fill key. We can find a question's pre-fill key by entering that question's configuration settings. We click on the gear icon that appears on the right-hand side and scroll to the bottom of the settings where we will find the pre-fill key. Here in this example, we can see the pre-fill key is 6C2J. We also have the ability to create a custom pre-fill key. Let's look at the methods in which we can pre-fill. Pre-filling within most forms is done through a query string, or by emulating the query string's format. In a URL, the beginning of a query string is indicated by a question mark. Let us look at this process. I have collected my form's URL by clicking Share from the navigation menu, and I will then type a question mark to begin my query string. I will use my custom pre-fill key for my first name field, first name, and then type an equality symbol. Following this, I will input the value I want to pre-fill my question with, Alex. In this example, the query string would be first name equals Alex. This is what we refer to as a key value pair. The key being the pre-fill key for my question, and the value being Alex. To pre-fill more than one field within a form, we need to separate all subsequent key value pairs with an ampersand. So, to pre-fill multiple fields within my form, I would follow the query string indicator, the question mark, and input my first key value pair. Then, input an ampersand, followed by the next key value pair, and so on. But what if I want to pre-fill a field and use characters that may cause a break within my URL? To put it plainly, URLs don't like certain characters, and if we use them, we may cause a break. To include these characters, we can use something that we refer to as percent encoding. This is where a code will represent a character preceded by the percentage symbol. For this example, we can see that I'm pre-filling my email field. We see, in place of the @ symbol, I have used the code 40 preceded by the percentage symbol. Take a look at the description below for a list of these supported codes. How can we use our pre-fill URL? Well, we could use it directly on Paperform by simply putting it into our address bar, or as a hyperlink. And we also have the ability to use it on our own website. We follow the same process we just implemented, but this time we add the query string to the URL of the page where our form is embedded. We will also need to add something to our embed code, which we are going to cover in the next method of pre-filling. Inheritance. When we embed a form on a website, the page that we're doing the embedding on is considered the parent, and the form that we are embedding is considered the child. Since the URL in the browser refers to the parent, pre-filling works slightly differently. The child looks to itself for the query string, however, it doesn't find it. This can be easily solved. We can just inherit the query string from the parent. To accomplish this, we can modify the embed code to include pre-fill inherit. This signals to the embed that we want to pre-fill by inheritance and capture the query string of the parent's URL. If you want to take a look at how to embed your form onto your website, then make sure to click on the pop-up that appears in the top right of this video. When you pre-fill your form through using a query string, we consider that dynamic pre-filling, as it's subject to change. Alternatively, you can pre-fill using static values by pre-filling directly into the embed code so that the form will pre-fill the same way each time it loads. The static method uses the same format as the query string. In fact, you can set up the query string as you would for dynamic pre-filling and just copy that query string to paste within your embed code. Taking a look at our example URL, the query string is first name equals Alex and last name equals Charmoso. We can simply copy that query string and paste it directly into our embed code. Let's look at how we achieve this. In much the same way that we modified our embed code to include prefill inheritance, we simply include prefill equal to, and then house our query string within quotation marks. As we can see, all that we've done is take the query string from our URL and place it into our embed code. Now, every time that the form is loaded, the first name and last name field will be pre-filled. Now let's take a look at the process of filling from form to form. Suppose you have two forms and your submitter enters their name on form 1. We don't want them to have to enter their name on form 2, and that's where pre-filling comes in. We can set up a redirect so that the question on form 2 will be pre-filled with the answer from form 1. We still follow the traditional key value pair format of pre-filling, but this time, what will we use as the value? This is where we use the process of answer piping. Answer piping is a feature available on both Pro and Agency plans. It allows us to pipe or display an answer to a question within the form. For example, if someone has answered the question name with Alex, you can then add the answer Alex to any other part of your form, or in this case, onto another form, creating a more personal and engaging experience for your submitter. So let's look at this simple process. We'll again need to collect a form URL, this time being the form URL of the form we want to pre-fill, and we'll also need to collect the pre-fill key of the field we would like to pre-fill. We'll enter the configuration settings and scroll to the bottom, and then jump into our first form. From here, we'll click After Submission, Success Pages and Redirects from the navigation bar, and scroll down until we find Enable Redirect on Submission. We'll toggle this on, and we'll paste in the URL for our second form. We'll then begin our query string with a question mark, and then paste in the pre-fill key of the field we want to pre-fill. We'll click the pre-fill icon we see on the right-hand side, and then select which of the questions we want to pipe the answer from. And voila! We ensure we save the changes. And now let's run a test to ensure that this works correctly. I'll input my name, and then click Submit. And we can see we've successfully pre-filled the second form with the answer from the first. We can also use this method of answer piping to create pre-fill URLs in a link within other places of our form. For example, we could create a pre-fill URL using answer piping within email content, as well as within the form itself, or as a clickable link in the success page. We also have the ability to create a pre-fill URL using a secondary platform. In this example, I'm creating an email with MailChimp. I'll type some text and then create a hyperlink. I'll use the form URL as the web address with a question mark to begin the query string, my pre-fill key name, and equals to, and then use the merger tag provided by MailChimp. Now, when one of my recipients opens that link, it'll pre-fill the information from MailChimp into the form. We hope this has been a helpful video, and be sure to check out the links in the description below for more information regarding the pre-filling feature.